Marcus threatened me, leveraging the hospital's reputation. You must save my wife and child. He was supposed to be my fiancé, yet in the delivery room, he called someone else's wife. I took a deep breath. After the surgery, I slapped him. Marcus was enraged. Tell the director to suspend Evelyn. She can return once she realizes her mistake. I turned around, packed my bags to study abroad, and even found an award-winning actor to be my husband. Later, Marcus chased me abroad, his face contorted in rage, demanding, "Give me back my wife." The winning actor retorted, "Mistaking someone for your wife is a sickness that needs curing." Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. Marcus's female friend was having a difficult delivery and needed a blood transfusion. I emerged from the operating room with the blood transfusion consent form, looking for her family members. No sooner had the midwife called out her name than Marcus rushed over, gripping my shoulders tightly. His voice low, he said, "You must save my wife and child. Otherwise, I'll destroy this hospital." He was my husband, yet he called someone else's wife. "Mr. Marcus, please calm down. Dr. Evelyn will do her best. And Evelyn is your wife, isn't she?" The midwife's words made Marcus freeze for a moment, but he quickly snapped back into his anxious state, his grip tightening further. "Chloe is very important to me. If something happens to her or the baby, I won't let you off the hook," he threatened me. The midwife stood up for me. "Mr. Marcus, how can you treat your wife like this for a friend?" Marcus roared, "My wife means nothing to me, but Chloe is more important than my own life." My heart ached with a sharp pain. I was his wife. We had a wedding and signed an agreement, but hadn't gotten legally married yet. He said he'd get legally married in 2 years. But those more than 400 days and nights ultimately amounted to a casual remark that I could be easily replaced. I took a deep breath and slapped him. His stern face instantly swelled up. Marcus's bodyguards tried to rush forward, but Marcus stopped them. His eyes red, he warned me, "You're a doctor. Don't forget your duty." Marcus threatened with the hospital's reputation, so the director assigned me to continue the surgery. In the end, Chloe gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Marcus and Chloe's husband were both overjoyed. When I was making rounds, Marcus's sister, Lucy, holding the baby, said to me, "Thank you for saving Chloe. She's very important to my brother." Marcus hadn't told his family about my identity, so Lucy didn't recognize me. She told me the story of Chloe and Marcus. They had known each other since they were 13, and Chloe was Marcus's right-hand woman. She said that when Chloe got married, Marcus was deeply distraught, even marrying just anyone. It was at this moment that I understood, in their eyes, Chloe was an indispensable light in Marcus's life. I was just an option. I couldn't help but raise my voice, interrupting Lucy. Everyone in the ward looked at me as I took off my mask. "Evelyn, what's with all this noise? Don't you know Chloe just gave birth and needs quiet?" Marcus offered no explanation. Instead, he stared at me coldly and said with disgust, "How can you be a doctor acting like this? Come here and apologize." I didn't respond to him, I turned and left. It wasn't that I was afraid to face him, I simply didn't want this relationship anymore. It was too exhausting to maintain it alone. Seeing me leave, Marcus grew even angrier. He told his assistant, "Tell the director to suspend Evelyn. She can return once she realizes her mistake." He then looked tenderly at Chloe in the hospital bed. "You weren't scared, were you? With me here, no one can bully you." Marcus's call quickly reached the director's office. I had already prepared my resignation letter. The director frowned and sighed. "Eve. Lynn, go apologize to Mr. Marcus. You're our most promising doctor, a suspension would harm your reputation." I placed my resignation letter in front of the director. "Director, I want to study abroad for advanced training." The director was momentarily stunned, then finally nodded. "You should have gone long ago, Marcus held you back." Marcus and I met at an alumni. He needed a wife to help him, and I wanted to get married so my ailing mother could rest easy. So, we hit it off immediately. I wanted to get legally married, but he said his company was unstable and feared dragging me down. I believed him, signed an agreement, and gave my heart to him. But later, I discovered his company was stronger than I'd imagined. After securing the project, he stopped mentioning our relationship. In many people's eyes, Chloe, who accompanied him daily, was his only one. After we got married, I argued with him about it. But instead of consoling me, he said dismissively, "You only know how to wield a scalpel, you can't help me with work. Chloe is different, she's smarter than me." Angrily, I pulled out my Harvard School PhD acceptance letter and said I was going abroad. He arrogantly pulled me into an embrace. "You're not allowed to go abroad. I don't agree. Because of his opposition, I missed my chance to study abroad. I thought this would earn his true affections. But in the end, I was nothing more than a replaceable item to him. For I was completing my handover at the hospital. As I was dismissing my last patient, I happened to run into Marcus leaving the hospital with Chloe. I just gave them a fleeting glance and didn't say anything. Chloe, however, pulled Marcus over to me and said softly, "Evelyn, thanks to you, my baby and I would have been in danger. I heard Marcus got angry with you. He's always like that, he loses control whenever I'm involved. Please don't be angry, I apologize to you on his behalf." Her tone shifted, and she gave my stomach a meaningful look, saying, Oman really needs a child for her family to be more stable. Don't work anymore, go home and focus on trying to conceive. Marcus, you love children so much, why don't you have Ms. Evelyn give you one? Marcus dotingly pinched her nose and, with a playful smile, said, "She's not as lucky as you." I knew Chloe deliberately provoked Marcus into saying that. Before, I might have retorted with a few sharp words. But at that moment, seeing their blatant intimacy, ignoring everyone else, I only felt weary. I waved my hand and said blandly, "I cannot bear such a blessing. Please give all that good fortune to Miss Chloe, Mr. Marcus." After speaking, I didn't watch their reaction, I turned and walked into the elevator. Perhaps that cold Mr. Marcus was too much, and Marcus was provoked. As soon as I walked out of the hospital, he grabbed my wrist. He forcefully tried to pull me into his car, but I pressed against the car door, refusing to get in. "Evelyn, how long are you going to keep this up?" I wasn't keeping it up at all. He looked at my indifferent expression, frowned, and still said coldly, "Chloe's husband was also here just now. What you said would cause him to misunderstand." I pushed him away in disgust. "If you were afraid of her husband misunderstanding, you wouldn't have appeared at the hospital posing as him, nor would you have put your arm around her waist. She's my best friend, physical contact is perfectly normal." Marcus still believed he was in the right. I scoffed, "So, is it also normal for her to bear your child?" Marcus grew impatient. "If that's how you want to think, there's nothing I can do." After speaking, he opened the car door and got in. "You've been in a bad state these past few days, so I won't be coming home yet. We can talk once you've calmed down." He rolled up the window and drove away first. The sedan drove further and further away, disappearing from my sight. It was as if he had completely left my heart. 5. The procedures for going abroad were completed quickly. As soon as my plane tickets were booked, Lucy found me. Lucy was different from her brother. She was innocent and didn't interact with me often, so she kept speaking highly of Chloe at the time. But after learning the truth, she never went near Chloe again. When she heard I was going abroad this time, she asked with some regret, "You've been with my brother for so long, can you truly let go?" I nodded. "I can let go." Repeated efforts met with indifference, even the strongest heart would be riddled with holes. Seeing my resolve, Lucy, with teary eyes, spoke of her own predicament. She was unexpectedly pregnant and wanted to tell Marcus. Marcus, however, had followed Chloe's advice and planned for her to enter a marriage alliance with someone she didn't like. She wanted to keep the baby but didn't want to marry someone she didn't love, so she wanted to leave with me. This surprised me. Marcus would actually send his innocent sister into a marriage alliance just because of a single word from Chloe. It seemed that for him, only Chloe was irreplaceable. Lucy was crying pitifully, and I eventually agreed to her request. I applied for an auditing student spot for her at Harvard and let her use my ID for her prenatal checkup. After confirming the baby was fine, we went abroad together. But as soon as our plane landed, we discovered our bank account frozen. This was Marcus's usual tactic to force us to return. He always underestimated a girl's perseverance and courage. Lucy sold her designer bags and watches, and after enrolling, I immediately found a part-time job at a restaurant. The neighborhood where I was working had poor safety at night. That day, I was leaving work alone when a shadow kept following me. I nervously clutched my pepper spray and quickened my pace towards Main Street. Just as I was nearing the taxi, someone suddenly grabbed my shoulder from behind. My heart sank. I instinctively turned around and forcefully pressed the SPR. I nozzle. Kiss. A man clutched his eyes and held up a wallet adorned with cute stickers. He said in fluent Chinese, "Evelyn, is this your wallet?" 6. The man who had been following me was Julian, an actor. He had been filming at the school earlier in the day and accidentally found my wallet, so he followed me after work to return it. He hadn't expected me to mistake him for a stalker. My spray was incredibly potent, and Julian's eyes immediately became red and swollen. He took my hand and said innocently, "Evelyn, do all medical students have such powerful pepper spray? My face instantly flushed. Out of a sense of responsibility, I brought Julian back to the small villa I was renting. Lucy went to bed early. As I was cleaning Julian's eyes, I reminded him not to hyperventilate. From his star-like eyes, tears and eye drops streamed continuously. Evelyn, if I don't breathe, I'll suffocate. I immediately felt guilty and quickened my movements. After I finished treating him, I noticed Julian's face was flushed, and his lips looked a bit off. I quickly touched his forehead. Julian, what's wrong? Answer me quickly. Only then did Julian take a deep breath and asked like a pitiful puppy, Evelyn, can I breathe now? Pfft. It turned out he really had been holding his breath, afraid to inhale. I couldn't help but laugh and patted his shoulder. You're so silly. Julian looked at me earnestly. Evelyn, you finally smiled. You know, you look beautiful when you smile. I froze. It was the first time anyone had cared whether I smiled. 7 After my parents' divorce, I lived with my mother, who had mysophobia and OCD. My mother had a strict personality, she was old-fashioned and serious in both life and work. She always demanded that I meet her standards. In front of her, I didn't dare laugh freely like other girls. She later developed cancer and pressured me into blind dates. Following her wishes, I chose the mature and stable Marcus. On her deathbed, she clasped my hand tightly, telling me I should try to be myself. To my surprise, Marcus was just as strict as my mother. He also held me to Chloe's standards as a successful woman. Whenever I relaxed even a little, he would get angry and scold me. Evelyn, you're married and a doctor, can you please be a bit more composed? If you laugh like those young girls again, don't bother coming home. I didn't want to argue, so when I faced him, it was like facing my mother, serious and cautious. 8:10 in the evening, Julian's eyes had recovered from the swelling. He stood by the liquor cabinet in the living room, looking at me thoughtfully. He was taller than Marcus, had a perfect physique, with long, lean legs. Just one smile, and he was irresistible. Evelyn, help me pursue a girl? My mind went blank, and I gave an awkward laugh. My own relationships had failed, how could I teach him? Julian seemed afraid I'd refuse and reminded me earnestly, Evelyn said on the way, you'd do your best to teach me anything I wanted to learn, and wouldn't give up. I was confused, having completely forgotten I'd ever said that. But's face was serious, and he didn't seem to be lying. I had no choice but to brace myself and ask, what kind of girl are you trying to pursue? Julian stepped closer, his deep-set eyes fixed on mine. She's a medical student, just like you, so she probably has similar interests. Evelyn, can you tell me something that touched you, and I'll try to do it to test her feelings? At that moment, Julian's gaze seemed to encompass the entire world. Without thinking, I said, if she likes sports, take her skiing on Christmas. If she prefers quiet, cook her a candlelight dinner yourself. Evelyn, I can't cook. Would you teach me for a fee? Julian finished, then, fearing I'd refuse, added, I'm an artist, and it's not safe to find someone else to teach me. I trust Evelyn, and the payment I offer will be higher than what you earn working a part-time job at the restaurant. Faced with the temptation of high compensation, I nodded. 9 Julian was quick to act. The very next day, after filming, he came to my place to learn to cook. He diligently took notes and politely asked about my preferences. In less than a week, he mastered the Chinese dishes I taught him. Looking at him, I suddenly felt that being a teacher wasn't so bad. Just as I was about to announce the end of the lessons, he suddenly came closer to me. Evelyn, on Christmas, could I invite the girl I like to your house? I scratched my head. Oh? I don't think that's a good idea. I have to write a paper on Christmas, and I'm afraid. It's okay, you don't have to do anything or avoid us. Julian looked at me, his smile genuine. With you here, I feel at ease, so I'd like you to stay with me. Evelyn, please don't refuse, okay? Julian, no pouting. I reluctantly pushed away his head, which was resting on my shoulder. Julian blinked, acting like a puppy that was being endearingly charming. Evelyn, I only act like this with you. Please say yes, okay? Lucy was in the living room and saw this scene, and actually helped Julian persuade me. Yielding to their combined efforts, I nodded in agreement. On day, Julian indeed didn't ask me to do anything. He had everything neatly organized. He even put on a suit and wore a tie. After finishing my paper, I was about to stay in my room when I suddenly heard him call out, Evelyn, could you open the door for me? I walked over, slightly suspicious, and opened the door, and was immediately stunned. Julian's assistant stood at the door, holding a large bouquet of champagne roses. Julian took off his apron, walked over, took the flowers, then turned to me. Evelyn, these are for you. Looking at the bouquet, I blinked and instinctively took them. Julian then gently placed his hand on my waist and led me to the dining table. Looking at the flowers in my arms, and then at the dishes on the table, it was at this moment that I realized he was confessing his feelings to me. But's confession was different from what I expected. He didn't directly ask me to accept, but quietly, just as before, served me food. Evelyn, you don't have to answer me right away. I understand it's not easy for you to accept a new relationship. Julian peeled a shrimp and placed it on my plate, looking at me earnestly. His smile was radiant now, making it impossible to look away. I'm confessing because I want you to know that there isn't just one mountain in front of you. You can look ahead. You might discover that your mountain peak is within reach, and with just one step, you can walk among the clouds with happiness. When I went on a blind date with Marcus, he imperiously declared he was my only option. Even my mother advised me, only with Marcus can you be happy, no one else is meant for you. To them, there was only one path before me, and that was Marcus. Engaging with someone like Julian was rebellious and unconventional in their eyes. Subtly, over time, I had forgotten that the path was my own to choose. I had more choices than I perceived. As I was lost in thought, my phone suddenly vibrated. It was a photo sent by one of Marcus's friends from Harvard. It was a shot of my back as I picked up Lucy's report at the obstetrics and gynecology department. Following that was a voice message from Marcus. He said, "You're pregnant, what's with all the drama? That's enough, or I'll lose my patience and truly not want you anymore. Don't think you're still young at 26 and can find someone else if you leave me. Only I would want a boring woman like you. Without me, no one will even give you a second glance." Was it true that no one would notice me? Julian was standing right in front of me at that moment. I didn't reply to Marcus. I immediately blocked him and his friends, and threw my SIM card into the trash can. At this moment, I made up my mind. I couldn't hide away because of a failed marriage, fearing the sunlight. Studying was about improving my self, not escaping. I should break free from my constraints and see the wider world. I needed to become strong enough so that even if I saw Marcus again, his dismissals wouldn't break me. 11 Marcus's friends realized they had been blocked, and all stared at Marcus, wondering how he would react. Chloe had finished her postpartum recovery period and was already drinking with them. She poured wine, smiled faintly, and advised, "Ms. Evelyn is pregnant, you should still go and console her. She just wants to use the baby to make you humble yourself. It's fine to give in a little, just for the child's sake." Marcus's face immediately darkened. He was actually quite pleased that Evelyn was pregnant. He thought that by sending a photo, Evelyn would obediently come back. But's words made him think Evelyn wanted to control him with the child. How could that be? Marcus never bowed down to women. Evelyn was nothing more than a trophy wife to him, nowhere near as useful as Chloe. Chloe's right, just soften up a bit. His friends also chimed in with advice. Marcus, however, said indifferently, "She's carrying my child, she'll just mess around for half a year at most, then she'll come back begging me for money." If was smart and returned to him before the baby was born, he would dote on her and help her raise the child. But if she didn't repent, he would coldly abandon her without hesitation. 12 My action of throwing away the SIM card surprised Julian. He looked at me intently. "Evelyn, he's just an old man you dumped, how dare he be so aggressive with you?" Lucy, who was watching the drama unfold from the second floor, couldn't help but burst out laughing. I couldn't hold back either. It felt so satisfying to hear someone curse Marcus like that. Julian cupped my face, his forehead resting against mine, his voice soft and lingering. "I'm not like an old man. Just looking at your face, Evelyn, makes my heart race, and I can't say a single bad word." As he spoke, he took my hand and placed it over his heart. Feeling his heartbeat, my face grew warm. "Julian, no using your charms on me." Julian looked innocent. "Evelyn, I'm not doing that." All right, you're not, Just as I was about to continue, my stomach suddenly felt off. "Julian, my stomach hurts. Don't be scared, I'll take you to the hospital." Julian didn't hesitate, he picked me up and rushed towards the hospital. 13 Due to overeating, I developed acute gastroenteritis. When I woke up, Lucy was by my side, her eyes sparkling as she told me Julian had practically summoned every doctor from stateside for me. Christmas meant fewer on-call doctors, and the American medical system was different. I could imagine how dramatic Julian must have been. But I was touched. Never in my life had anyone gone to such lengths for me, treating me like a princess. Even would only coldly say when I wasn't feeling well, "Aren't you a doctor?" Treat yourself if you're not feeling well. This time, Lucy encouraged me. Evelyn, my brother is just a passing phase. Let go when you should, don't make things difficult for yourself. While I was unconscious from gastroenteritis, my awareness remained, and I felt Julian's anxiety. I heard his voice, breaking down and crying for me. Christmas had made me decide to give myself a chance. Now, I was going to give Julian a chance. Lucy, I figured it out. Julian, such a handsome man, is right here in front of me. Why would I choose an old man who lacks charm? Lucy was amused, and I laughed too. When I finished laughing, I looked towards the door, and Julian stood there, unmoving, like a loyal puppy. 14 After I agreed to give Julian a chance, he always made time to fly stateside to be with me. He was only 2 years younger than me, but every time we went out, he'd try to appear 4 or 5 years older than me. I smiled and asked him why. He clingily buried his head in my shoulder, saying playfully, I'm afraid I'll look too immature, and they'll say I'm not good enough for you. I came from an ordinary background, and when I was with Marcus, I was always told I wasn't fit to be the mistress of the Fu family. I was often objectified and compared. But with Julian, he never objectified me. He only objectified himself, just to make me happy. So, on Lucy's baby's 1-month celebration, I decided to formally tell Julian that I wanted to be with him. Just as I arrived outside the villa he was renting, I saw many bodyguards blocking the way. 15 The villa door opened, and a middle-aged man walked out, staring at me with sharp eyes. Are you Evelyn? Before I could speak, several cars suddenly appeared behind me. Over a dozen stateside reporters got out of the cars, carrying cameras, and stood behind me. They excitedly questioned, is it true you made Julian fly over to see you every time? Are you trying to get famous by deliberately clinging to Julian? Even the man from before seemed to dislike me greatly. She's my wife, legally married. Julian walked out of the villa, his expression cold, completely different from his usual gentleness. He took off his suit jacket, draped it over me, and held me tightly in his arms, shielding me from the cameras. Facing the reporters, his voice was as cold as ice. My wife is shy. I don't want you to disturb her again. Then, he led me into the villa, and the middle-aged man followed closely. Evelyn, I'm sorry. As soon as the door closed, Julian immediately transformed into a docile puppy, knelt on one knee, and looked at me with innocent eyes. Before I could speak, the middle-aged man asked in shock, did you really say you were married just now? I also stared at Julian in disbelief. He was at the peak of his career, and publicly getting married would mean throwing away his acting career. Julian's tone was incredibly firm. Dad, Evelyn and I are serious about getting married. I'm not just saying it casually. I want to get legally married to her. I want to be responsible for her, too. Protect her with my career and the future of our family, and never let anyone bully her. For a man to bet his entire career on marrying me was truly hard to refuse. Moreover, my feelings for him were gradually deepening. However, thinking of his father's attitude earlier, I worried his family wouldn't accept me. After all, my past with Marcus couldn't be erased. Go register in Ireland, then have another ceremony stateside. Your mother and I will choose an auspicious date for the wedding. To my surprise, his father agreed without hesitation. Julian excitedly picked me up, looked up at me, blinking, and asked earnestly, Evelyn, will you marry me first? I promise, I won't disappoint you. 16 Julian and I truly got married. This marriage had no pressure, no constraints, and none of that commercial extravagance. We had a legal marriage certificate and the support of Julian's family. He also found his own way to make his fans accept his marriage. At our wedding stateside, Lucy was my bridesmaid, and her baby became the good luck charm of the wedding. Evelyn, I believe you'll be happy. Lucy only offered me blessings, with no strings attached. Recalling before my wedding with Marcus, my mother always lectured me on how to be a proper wife. Those rules made me feel like I was walking on thin ice around Marcus. But now, my marriage was free of shackles. Julian and my friends only wanted me to be myself. I stood atop my own peak and finally saw the scenery above the clouds. I thought, this is what true life feels like. 17 At's child's third birthday party, she deliberately acted close to Marcus, even claiming she was pregnant again. Someone, after a few drinks, casually mentioned Evelyn's name. By now, Evelyn's child should be around 2 years old, right? Chloe seized the opportunity to fan the flames. Evelyn is truly heartless, her child is too, and she still hasn't brought him to see Marcus. Does she want Marcus to kneel and beg her to come back? No sooner had she spoken than Marcus filled a glass with red wine. Everyone thought he was annoyed because Evelyn was being so proud. But when Chloe said, Evelyn is just playing games. Marcus and I grew up together, even if we shared a bed, nothing would happen. Marcus finally lost his temper, smashed his wine glass, and, with red eyes, yelled, enough. Did nothing really happen between us? Chloe's face changed drastically. Her husband rushed over, grabbed Marcus by the collar, and angrily demanded, what do you mean? What happened between you and my wife? Marcus sneered, we slept together. Marcus and Chloe's husband started fighting, and the birthday party turned into a complete mess. Both men ended up in the hospital, and Chloe, due to the shock, suffered contractions and had to be hospitalized for observation to ensure a safe pregnancy. In the hospital room, Marcus's friends were full of questions. They couldn't understand why Marcus and Chloe, who had always seemed so close, suddenly turned on each other. Moreover, they all knew Chloe's character, she even flirted with them from time to time. Marcus, however, took out his phone and displayed Chloe's chat logs, which he had hacked, showing her provocations towards Evelyn. On the surface, she was his friend, but secretly, she made things difficult for Evelyn in every way, even using Evelyn's private matters to provoke her. 18 at first, Marcus didn't care, thinking that Evelyn being provoked meant she loved him. But 3 days ago, he asked his friends from Harvard to find out information about Evelyn and discovered she had no record of giving birth. He didn't believe Evelyn hadn't been pregnant and was convinced that a woman like her would definitely protect her child well. So, he checked Evelyn's hospitalization records and learned she had been in a coma for 4 days due to gastroenteritis. He, however, believed that was the result of Evelyn's miscarriage. If I had gone to console Evelyn then, our child would also be 2 years old now. He was filled with deep regret, and his friends couldn't help but advise, it's not too late now. Go find Evelyn and have another child. That's right, Evelyn loves you so much, if you go, you can definitely win her back. After his friend said this, Marcus immediately sent someone to find out information about Evelyn. After learned of Marcus's decision, she didn't immediately disclose the information she possessed. She hated Evelyn. If not for Evelyn, how would she have lost Marcus's attention? After finally getting rid of Evelyn for 3 years, she didn't want her to return to Marcus's side. So, Chloe sent the information she had to an email address. 19 After won the award-winning actor award, he took Lucy and me to the resort for a vacation. Lucy's daughter, Lily, was smart and playful, clinging to us and constantly calling us Mama and Papa. Everyone mistook us for a family of 3. Julian silently understood, his gaze lingering warmly on my lower abdomen. Evelyn, let's have a baby too, okay? After he spoke, he gently wrapped his arms around me from behind. His breath brushed softly against my ear, my cheeks flushed, and my heart pounded like a drum. I couldn't help but pinch his arm. Lily is still here. Don't set a bad example for kids. Julian laughed and picked me up. How about we let Lily go find Lucy, and we head back to the hotel to avoid people? Just as I was about to reply, I looked up and saw Marcus, his eyes red. He was with several bodyguards, his face grim, like a lion ready to erupt at any moment. Evelyn, I've waited for you for 3 years, he said, his voice carrying a subtle accusation. I asked Julian to put me down and replied calmly, Mr. Marcus, when I left, I already gave you the divorce agreement. In truth, we hadn't even gotten our marriage certificate, so that agreement wasn't necessary at all. I simply hoped for a dignified end to our time together. Marcus, however, roared in anger, it doesn't count. Absolutely not. Evelyn, how could you be so cruel? I always thought you were carrying our child, waiting for you to come to me. But I waited 3 years. You clearly had our child, yet you never came to me, that's heartless. I knew he misunderstood, but I had no intention of explaining. In my heart, Marcus was no longer important, his thoughts were irrelevant. Evelyn, come back with me. Let's start over. He tried to approach me. Julian immediately stepped in front of me and said coldly, Marcus, don't come near Evelyn. Marcus, his face full of rage, glared at Julian and roared, give me back my wife. Julian sneered, pulled out our marriage certificate, and reminded him, Mr. Marcus, mistaking someone for your wife is a sickness that needs curing. These words completely enraged Marcus. He lunged at Julian, and the 2 men began to scuffle. Julian was no pushover, and in just a few blows, Marcus was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. Evelyn, I'm hurt. You're a doctor, quickly come look at me. Marcus still commanded me. But I was no longer the person who blindly obeyed him 3 years ago. Julian put his arm around my waist and deliberately said, Wifey, that old man hits hard. My face hurts, a kiss from you would make it better. I knew he was asserting his dominance and willingly cooperated, kissing his cheek. Seeing our intimacy, Marcus became agitated and restless. Evelyn, you're my wife. You should come with me, don't be with someone like him. Let's go home, let's go home. He tried to approach again, but this time, Julian's bodyguards had stopped him. I supported Julian, held Lily's hand, gave Lucy a meaningful look, and we all went back to the hotel. Behind us, Marcus's shouts didn't cease, but I had no intention of responding. Our relationship had ended 3 years ago. 20 back at the hotel, we learned that someone had exposed our vacation photos. Now, the news headlines were Julian's wife and daughter. Although we had already decided to go public, T.'s manner of exposure infuriated Julian. After returning stateside, he immediately investigated the source of the leak. It was quickly discovered that Chloe was behind the exposure. I never expected that 3 years later, she would still be secretly monitoring me. I had no affection for Chloe, not only because she had interfered in my marriage but also because she was like a venomous snake, relentlessly haunting me. Julian understood my feelings, and this time, he showed no mercy. The family's legal team stepped in, digging up all of Chloe's scandalous affairs. They even sued her for invasion of privacy. Marcus's company immediately cut ties with her, and even her husband divorced her. When told me about these events, she felt a sense of vindication. As for me, I was already indifferent to it all. After leaving that wrong marriage, my world had become much broader. Just as Lucy was teasing me, I suddenly felt nauseous. Evelyn, you're not pregnant, are you? Lucy asked excitedly. I counted the days and immediately pulled Lucy along to get a pregnancy test. I was pregnant. Julian hoped to find the safest possible way to minimize my harm. Evelyn, if something were to happen, he wouldn't be able to help you. Marcus appeared outside my home again while Julian was holding a press conference. He gazed intently at me, reaching out for me. You won't be happy with him. Please come back with me, okay? I've changed. I promise I can protect you and won't let anyone hurt you ever again. Lily had appeared behind him at some point. The little one held a water gun, aimed it at Marcus, and said indignantly, "Nasty. You're not allowed to bother my mommy anymore. You're a mean person, and you're not good to my mommy or Evelyn's mommy." Marcus froze upon hearing this, then frowned and asked, "You call me uncle? Are you not my child?" Lily glared at him and shook her head firmly. "I'm not your child. You're too mean, I wouldn't be happy as your child. Evelyn's mommy is very happy now. She and daddy are having their own baby. If you bully Evelyn's mommy again, I'll hit you." The clever Marcus immediately put 2 and 2 together. The man who had been trying to harass me suddenly looked crestfallen, his voice tinged with sadness. When went abroad, it wasn't for studying, but to have this child. Evelyn, did you truly let me go 3 years ago? I nodded, replying calmly and firmly, Marcus, we were over 3 years ago. Please leave. Suddenly, the arrogant Marcus wept like a child. I always told myself that with our child, there would surely be a chance for reconciliation. I always thought you loved me and wouldn't leave me. But after 3 years of waiting, it was all a joke. Evelyn, why? How did we ever reach this point? To this day, he still didn't understand why we broke up. I couldn't help but find it ironic. Marcus's love had always been superficial, moving no one but himself. Evelyn, I know I was wrong now. Let's reconcile. I'll even help you raise Julian's child, okay? Marcus knelt, tears welling in his eyes. Just then, Julian emerged from the car and delivered a direct kick. The man, usually so puppy-like, instantly transformed into a raging lion, landing another punch on Marcus. Marcus, stay away from my wife, or I'll make the Marcus family go bankrupt. Faced with a choice between love and self-interest, Marcus once again chose the latter. His proud family, the Marcus family, seemed insignificant compared to the Julian family. He watched as Lily and I entered the estate, letting out a gut-wrenching wail. Lily, scared, huddled into my arms and said indignantly, Evelyn's mommy, the bad man is so scary. He's not allowed to come looking for us ever again. Julian gently stroked the little one's head, then put his arm around me and said softly, don't worry, he won't dare anymore. Afterward, Julian took me back to the Hayes estate. The family had always been fond of me and had wanted me to move in for a long time. Julian had always said he was worried his family would compete with me for his attention, which was why he insisted on us living in our own private world. Now that I was pregnant and Marcus's threat lingered, he claimed it was a necessary evil to finally make his parents happy. When I was 6 months pregnant, Julian announced he was retiring from acting to take over the family business and care for me. His fans were ecstatic, yet they all sent us their blessings. Even at his farewell concert, his fans used their lights to spell out my name. Julian and I stood on stage, embracing happily. I inadvertently noticed Marcus, alone in the crowd below, tears streaming down his face. Yet, I simply ignored him with cold indifference. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, so feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.